Hey y'all! Welcome back to the Intro to Backend Development lectures. Today we'll be talking about relational databases, which is an extension of kind of what we talked about last time with, starting with SQL and databases. I just want to quickly apologize. I realized when I was editing the demo last week, my audio quality was a bit strange. My voice was cutting out a little bit. Some words were being dropped and stuff like that. I've messed with my mic settings a bit, so, hopefully that's fixed, but we'll see. Let's recap and just touch base on the things we've been covering in the last two lectures, right? Lecture 1, we learned about the client-server model, right? The client sends a request, which triggers some route, or remember another word is endpoint. Then we do one of the CRUD operations on it, create, retrieve, update, delete, and finally return a response. Then in lecture 2, we dived a bit deeper into what those data operations are, right? We talked about databases. We talked about SQL commands, right? We run a SQL command, and then the database actually returns the data we want. So that's kind of like the database driver we wrote for PA2. Now the server has the data, and it can send back a response. And this is generally the flow that information is going to go through when the client wants something, right? Send a request, that triggers a SQL command, database gives the server the data, and finally the server gives the client the data. We've been talking about single table databases thus far, right? Or at the very least, in lecture 2, we mentioned the databases can have multiple tables in them, but we didn't really go farther into that, right? So tables structure information into really rigid rows and columns, right? Think back to PA1, right? We had posts and comments. What if we wanted to do something like that again, right? Y'all kind of figured out how to do that with dictionaries. How would we do it with SQL tables now, which is a lot more rigid of a structure? Well, that's where relational databases come in, right? How are we going to connect multiple different tables together, right? Because it makes sense we might want to store comments in a separate table in posts. So, for example, how would we figure out which users are friends, right? That's a kind of different relationship too, because, multiple comments can belong to one post, but each comment is only associated with one post, right? You can't have one comment being a comment under 3 posts. That doesn't make sense. But with users, it's different, right? One user can have multiple friends, and those friends can also be friends with multiple other users. Same with, transactions on Venmo, right? PA2. So, for example, let's say you have a table of users and a table of things they've posted. But we also have this author column. And that's the key behind how we're going to relate these two things together. Because if we store, say, the ID of the poster, then we can just easily go back to the user table and figure out who posted it. That concept is kind of called a foreign key. So the author column on the posts table from before would have been called a foreign key column because it relates to another table in the database. You specify which other table you want the foreign key to refer to, and also which field. So generally, we're going to be referring to the IDs, because, IDs are meant to be unique identifiers. They're great for selecting specific rows in a database. You see a foreign key in a database, that means there's going to be some relationship going on there. Like I mentioned before, right, there's multiple different kinds of these, right? There's the one-to-many, which is posts and comments. There's many-to-many, which is like the users. We can also have one-to-one relationships, which is, a bit stranger, so let's talk about that. At their base level, they're really simple, right? Each one thing in this table corresponds to one thing in this table. So, students and net IDs. Each student has exactly one net ID, and each net ID has exactly one student, right? There's no room for one of these things to have multiple of the other. That's a one-to-one database, or one-to-one relationship. Sorry, I'm mixing up my words a lot today. So, for example, let's go back to a user example. This time, let's say we're storing the user's profile in a separate table for whatever reason, right? Maybe people don't want to just get their status every time they get their user. Well, we can see that we're storing the user ID as a separate column, right? Our foreign key column. And it can say, sure, the user ID with user ID 10 is away. So who's that user? That's John. User ID with 20, oh, that one's Jane, right? Super easy to get. In SQL, this really only adds 2 lines. We have our create table user, and that hasn't changed at all, right? That's the same as it always was. Then profile adds the user ID column, And notice that we're adding this keyword unique here. What that does is it enforces that in this table, every element cannot share this value. So for example, if I created a profile that referred to Jane, right? Then I created another profile. That profile can't also refer to Jane, right? That wouldn't make sense. So we can't have two different rows in our profile have the same value. So this is enforcing each row has a unique value in that column. Notice we're actually not specifying not null here. You do need to specify not null if you don't want this to be a nullable field. Finally, the last line we're adding is showing what the relationship is. So in this case, the foreign key user ID is what's referencing in the user table, specifically the ID column. Technically, we could have referenced the name column, right? But then let's say we were going with a name like Ben. Last year, I lived in Donlin, and there were 4 Bens just on my floor. Not to call out anyone named Ben, but you get that it's not a good way to select an individual from a database, right? Makes a lot more sense to just go for the unique identifier, their ID. Then, once we've created the tables, inserting is the same as it's always been, right? Inserting the username, value John. That's what we covered last lecture. This lecture, we're just adding that little user ID, right? In this case, I guess we're assuming John has user ID 1. If we don't know, we can always run a select command to figure out what their ID is. The second kind of relationship is one-to-many. So this is posts and comments, right? Think PA1. How are we going to cover something like that, right? When each post can have many comments. Each comment belongs to only one post. Same as we did before, right? This time, let's think albums and songs, right? So if we're thinking like T Swift, Evermore, right? Each album is going to have a lot of songs in it. So let's just have each song know which album it's from. Willow, Closure. Those are both from Evermore, so have them both refer to the album with ID 10. Easy to select that way, right? You just grab one value, select from the other table. Whereas Reproduction and Who's That Guy, those are both Grease 2 songs, right? This is probably Jack's part of the table. Easy to select Grease 2 if you're on Spotify and feel like listening to it for some reason. And this is the same as it was before, with a slight difference. Last time, we enforced that the album ID, or in that case it was the user ID, had to be unique. We're getting rid of that unique constraint now, because multiple songs can be associated with the same album. It's not one-to-one anymore. This time I have included the not null, just so you guys know you should include that if you don't want to be null. So this time we're enforcing that songs aren't not associated with an album. All songs have to be on some album. And then the foreign key is the exact same as it was before, right? Foreign key, and then the name of the column that you want to be the relational column, references album, so the table you're going towards, and then the field, in this case, ID. Let's say we're inserting a song, add in Who's That Guy? Grease 2 song. Well, Grease 2's album ID is 20, so let's stick it in there. And then we just want to grab all the Grease 2 songs. Jack's going on his playlist rampage. Select every song where the album ID is 20, Grease 2's album ID. Many-to-many relationship. These seem like they'll be the most complicated, right? But we'll dive into them, right? We'll explain. The normal or classic example of this is posts and hashtags, right? You post something, you can put as many dang hashtags on that as you want. You click on a hashtag, there's like a billion posts on that. Like if you click on like hashtag makeup on Instagram, there's like a billion posts just on that, right? So let's think a bit about how we might want to do this, because it's not as simple as the other ones, right? We have a couple different options. One is, let's say, for every potential relationship we want, we have multiple columns, right? So for example, for hashtags, we have one column for post 1, one column for post 2, one column for post 3, and each of those is a different foreign key. Or maybe one single column, and that just stores a list of all the IDs. And then the third option, which is what we're going to be going with, because of some things we'll explain in a bit, is a join table. And we'll explain what that means. Let's look at the first option, right? We have a student table, and a student wants to enroll in a bunch of courses. So we have 3 new columns. We have course 1, course 2, course 3, right? This is working for our first 2 students, ABC 1, 2, 3, and D 4, 5, 6, our favorites. But what if we want more than 3 courses? Well, we could add a column, right? But then we run into this problem of underutilization, right? Because we have to essentially build our table to cater to the student that's using the most number of courses. So let's say some students just absolutely going ham, and they're taking like 30 credits, right? They're taking like 10 classes or something. Well, then most students aren't really going to be taking more than 5 or 6 classes. So for most of the rows in this database, we're just going to have 4 null fields, which is a lot of wasted space. That gets really inefficient, really fast. Okay, let's try the list method, right? What students are CS 1110? Both of them. Great. What about 1998? I've mixed these two up. Don't worry about it. Imagine that 1110 and 1998 are swapped in the student table, right? Well, okay. If we try looking at which one student 1 is relating to, we can get their IDs fine. All right, this seems to be working out. If we want to see which students are in 1998, we're getting that fine too. This seems to be working. But now what happens when we add a new student? Right? We add a new student in 1110 and 1998. And now we need to keep the tables consistent, right? Because in the course table, that hasn't updated yet. We need to update every single row in the course table that the student now references. If we have multiple students referencing a lot of things, this one update to the student table can have a bunch of updates in the course table, and maybe that cascades and has a bunch of updates somewhere else, right? It can get really slow, really fast, just doing one operation like this. So what's the solution? Well, let's just drop those and create a join table. So the idea of a join table is it just has 2 columns. It has a column for the student ID and a column for the course ID, and each row represents one relationship. So now we know student 1 is in 1110, student 1 is in 1998, and student 2 is in 1110. Now we can select and see, okay, which courses is student 1 in? That's a simple select command, right? We know the SQL for that now. Select star from join table where student ID is 1. Or we want to, and then we go into the course table and we can get the course titles, right? Because now that we've gotten these course IDs, we can go to the course table. Similarly, what if we just want the students in 1110? Student 1 and student 2 are in 1110, and we can go and get their net IDs from the student table now. It's really nice because this way we can just add students on without really having to worry about it, right? Because every new relationship is exactly one row in the join table. Student 2 decides to enroll in 1998 too. Simple. We don't have to mess with any other tables now. So how would we implement this? Well, our original 2 tables are going to be exactly like we would have made them before. Student table, ID, integer primary key, all the good stuff. Same with course. But now we have a new table, the join table. That has its own IDs. We can worry about that later, not super important. The main thing is it has those 2 columns, course ID and student ID. And like we learned before, make sure that each foreign key references the corresponding table. So this is really just a table full of foreign keys that are cross-referencing each other. When a student wants to know courses, it checks with the join table. When a course wants to know its students, it just double checks with the join table. So now let's go for some quick questions. What do we call the column that distinguishes a relationship? Foreign key column, right? In PA1, we had posts and comments. We've been talking about this a lot today. What relationship is that, right? There's 3 options. Well, for every post, there's a lot of comments, but for every comment, there's only 1 post. So that would be a one-to-many, right? What example is good for a one-to-one relationship? Airplane flight, student ID student, room building. Well, every airplane is going to have a lot of flights, right? And a single flight is going to be on one airplane. that would probably be another one-to-many or many-to-one relationship. Student ID student, that looks about right. And then rooms building. Well, there's a ton of rooms per building, right? And in really wacky buildings, there can actually be 2 buildings per room, but that's neither here nor there. So the one-to-one is the option B. Finally, many-to-many. Students and credit cards. Well, every one student can have maybe multiple credit cards. That's probably one-to-many, right? Students and emails, that's also probably going to be a one-to-many, right? Because each student can have multiple emails. If you're really stretching it, maybe you'll say it's a many-to-many relationship in case some people are sharing emails, like an organization or something like that. The students and classes, every student has taken many classes. Every class has many students. Now think about PA2, right? And this is important because for PA3, you're going to be extending what you did in PA2. What relationship would you use between Venmo users and transactions? And I'll let you guys think about that one for yourself. Cool. So I recommend you guys go and watch the demo now. That's going to have a lot of kind of more concrete ways of how to implement all of this stuff. I hope you enjoyed, see you next week.